Lisa, and I am the Scrappy Wife behind scrappywife.com, and today I have a fun traveler's notebook project for you. A few weeks ago I ordered this super cute pocket traveler's notebook from Webster's Pages when they were having a big sale towards the beginning of July, and I'm excited to have it to put in my purse and take around with me. And there's a few things that I want to keep track of in here. I kind of want to have a little sketch pad, a running to-do list, and perhaps a notebook that I can write down funny things that my kids say, because I think all of the time, oh, I need to write that down, and then I never have anything with me to write it down. So I thought, well, if I have this just tossed in my purse, then I can do that. So my plan today is to create more of these inserts. This is the insert that came with the outer cover, and I'd like to create my own inserts using some mixed media paper and some of the leftover All People, All Nations line from Illustrated Faith and Bella Boulevard. So I will put you on fast forward. You can see how I'm going to create my own custom inserts, and we will get started. The very first thing I'm going to do is use my large paper trimmer to cut all of the paper to size. These little inserts happen to be 7 inches across and 5.5 inches up and down. And I'm using just some leftover mixed media paper. I believe this is the Target brand that is used for kids. And I've had it for my kids all summer. And now that summer's coming to a close and we're not quite done using it, I figured I'm going to use it for my inserts. It's just slightly thicker than regular copy paper, but not quite as thick as cardstock. So I think it's going to work really well for these inserts. After I finish cutting the paper for the inside of the notebook, I'm going to look through these scraps that I have from, I loved this All People, All Nations line. It was so fun to work with. I actually picked this up from Peachy Cheap, which is a great company for online deals. They offer a different deal every day on all kinds of paper crafting products. So be sure to check them out. I'll leave a link below if I can remember, and if I forget, be sure to let me know and I'll add it in. I'm just going to use some of the scraps I've had, including that cover page. That's the page that just is on the front and advertises all the patterns in the pack, and I think it's great to use those scraps as well for covers for these small notebooks. So I choose 3 different ones to start with, cut them to size. I wish I had cut them slightly larger. That's the one mistake, or the one thing I would go back and change. I cut them to the same exact size as the rest of the paper in the insert, and I wish I'd done like a 1/4 inch longer on either way. Skipping ahead, what you see me doing here is my hack for if you don't have a scoring board or a bone folder, neither of which I have because I don't do a lot of folding projects. But I have my paper cutter here, and I'm using a pen with its cap on, and I'm measuring, right as you can see on my paper cutter, to 3.5 inches, which is halfway, and using my pen and not pressing down super hard but kind of hard, and running it along the edge right there. And that is effectively scoring my pages, making it easier to fold. I used to think it was silly that you had to score pages. I thought, well, why wouldn't you just fold them in half? But it really does make for a cleaner look. It makes them fit together a little bit better. Now, when all of the paper is put together, it kind of, you have this overhang a little bit. So what I'm going to do right here, you see me adjusting my clips. I put all my inserts together very tightly. I'm going to clip them together, stick it back in my paper trimmer, just to get that very edge, the little pieces that hang off, and it gives a nice clean edge to your notebook. And I'm just working with the inserts so far. I haven't put the covers on the little notebooks, but just trimming off those edges to make it a little bit of a cleaner look. Here's the next thing that I have had to adapt from other tutorials that I have seen online. As I start to put my insert together, I've seen lots of people that just run these straight through their sewing machines, which is fantastic. But I don't have a sewing machine, and certainly don't have one that I can run paper through. And so what I'm going to use here is a tool that I picked up at Tuesday Morning. And what it does is press little holes into your paper in this straight line. So they're all equally spaced, And what I'm doing here is I opened up my notebook to the very middle and I'm pressing here, and you can see all of those little holes, and it makes these nice indentions. But because it's such a thick piece of paper, I'm having to come back with a pin, just a straight pin. And what I'm gonna do is just push through the holes as quickly as I can and make sure that it's going all the way through the hole. And I'm working on kind of an old school, let's see, is this We Are Memory Keepers or Creative Memories? I think that's what it is. An old school kind of foam pad, cutting pad that I have here. And I'm just using my pin and poking the pin straight through each of these holes to make sure it's gone all the way through the cover. Did this take longer than running it through a sewing machine? Yes, for sure. But like I said, I don't have a sewing machine that I can use for this project. And also, I don't really like the stapled traveler's notebook. If I'm gonna make it myself, I'd rather have it sewn through the middle. I think it's stronger and a little bit more reinforced. That might be crazy. Let me know if you disagree, if you think it works either way. But I just prefer the sewn through. So I have all my holes poked, trying to show you right here. And then I'm gonna take some fun, colorful thread and sew through the middle, a bright yellow. It adds a nice little detail too, I think. I'm gonna put it on my large needle because this is a kind of a thicker thread that I'm using, and sewing it right through the middle of this traveler's notebook. I begin by kind of going through the front here, and I'm just going to tie a knot at the top to make it secure as I work the string. And in this particular traveler's notebook, I'm going to do a little bit more of a complicated stitch. Instead of just going up and down, kind of a regular sewing stitch, I'm going to go backwards a hole each time. So as I go through a hole, then I go back one hole, if that makes sense. And it kind of gives me a double string through a lot of it, making it extra thick, and then in the middle you get this really bold yellow and white striped line. So I go through this hole, and then I'm actually going to go back a hole on the back side, and that makes a solid line on the back side and on the inside as well. I tie it off at the end, and just like that, my first insert is done. For my second notebook, I'm going to go through the same process of using this tool right here and poking those holes, and then following it up with the straight pin to really make sure the holes go all the way through all of the paper and the covers. I'll use a different color string and then a simpler stitch on the next one just to try out something new. For this insert, I do the same thing, tying the knot at the top, but I'm just going to do a simpler stitch, just the kind of standard up and down. I'm sure there's a name for it, and I apologize to all of my viewers that are sewers or seamstresses, because I'm sure you're rolling your eyes at me. But as you can tell, I'm new at anything involving string and needles, and you can ask my husband. I can barely sew a button, but I'm just doing a simpler stitch up and down this one to add some strength and keep this notebook together. For my last notebook, I decided I'm going to try something different, and I'm using some liquid adhesive right here and just adding a very, very, very thin line in the middle, right there on the crease of each paper, and then inserting the next page and making sure it all stays lined up. The reason I'm using liquid adhesive A is because I can get a very thin line, and B, it gives you a little bit of wiggle time to make sure all the pages are lined up. And I'm going to do that for each page in the book and use just this liquid adhesive to put this book together. I don't think that this is ideal because it's very hard to get that line so thin that it doesn't squeeze out and kind of adhere the pages together a little bit too much. But I think it was worth a try, saved me a little bit of time, and this is just a fun insert for me to play with for everyday use, and I like kind of changing it up. Now that all three inserts are done and the main parts are put together, I am going to do the fun part of decorating them, adding a little bit more interest. And I'm starting with these cut apart pages that were in the All People, All Nations kit. And I love these kind of large tags or large paper pieces. I'm going to adhere them to the front of my covers and add a few small details that just, again, add more color. I'm all about the color. The Traveler's Notebook cover is rainbow, and so I think all the color all the time. This will be just fun little notebooks that I can keep notes in, that I can sketch in, and I think it's going to be fun to have it in my purse. Let me know below, do you use the Traveler's Notebook system, or have you used it in the past? What is your go-to size for kind of on-the-go needs? Because mostly I have worked with the standard TNs with devotionals and with memory keeping, but I just think these cute pocket ones are just adorable, and I have all kinds of ideas for ways to use them, including I thought these little notebooks were so cute. I considered making one for each of my kids' teachers. We're about to go back to school here in Virginia, and I thought, wouldn't it be cute to make one for my kids' teachers and to kind of record the thoughts or the memories that my kids shared when they came home from school, and then maybe at Christmas time include that little sheet or that little book in the teacher's present at Christmas or at the end of the year, just a collection of my child's memories or my child's impressions from their classroom, hopefully all the positive ones. I thought that would be a fun memento for a teacher to have, or even just a fun little book for my kiddos to keep, gratitude books and things that they're reflecting on. These tiny journals work well when you have little kids because sometimes a huge journal page can be pretty intimidating. I finished adding a little bit of detail to each of the three inserts that I have made, and then I make the last second decision that I do want to use the insert that came with the Traveler's Notebook, but I want it covered because it is in brown craft paper, and while it's super cute, everything else in that notebook is super colorful, and so I'd like it to match. So all I'm doing is I opened it up, laid it flat, and traced it on this patterned paper from the same collection. And I'm going to cut it out and use some liquid adhesive to adhere it to the front of that notebook. And when you're working in one Traveler's Notebook, I think it is fun to use a paper collection. So all of the notebooks are related. This particular collection has so many colors and is so bright and vibrant. It just reminds me of the beginning of the school year because I just love all the school supplies, all the colors, all the things that are coming about this time of year. And I think using the one collection is going to make this notebook, this whole Traveler's Notebook system, feel pretty cohesive, like they match together. And for this final notebook, I'm choosing a few of the ephemera pieces, the paper pieces that came with the same collection, adding on this little tag and mountain mover right here. And then I'm going to use that washi looking, that fake washi tape, I'll call it, kind of a washi strip, a paper strip there with the white and the blue splatters on it to add just a little bit more detail to the bottom. This was a fantastic project for using up some of my stash. If you're like me, you accrue a lot of beautiful paper that I love to hold on to, and I just can't possibly use it in all of my projects, all of my Bible journaling, all of my memory keeping all the time. So sometimes it's nice to just grab up your stash and use it in a fun, random way because you're using your supplies that you loved so much. Now that my pages are done, I'm going to put them all in my Traveler's Notebook. This particular notebook has 4 elastics right in the middle so my 4 inserts fit easily. It can totally hold more. You can attach elastics together either with a different elastic band. I use just my kiddos' rubber bands, work really well for putting a couple of notebooks together and then inserting them into the system. I feel really confident, especially with the ones that I sewed together, that those notebooks are going to be strong. See how you can flip through them. And I'm super excited to work with this tiny little pocket traveler's notebook. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments below by hitting that like button and possibly that subscribe button. Don't forget, if you hit the bell notification, you'll be the first to know when I release a new video. I hope you have a fantastic day, and as always, keep it creative.